Hello everyone and welcome to the semifinals of the FIDE World Team Championship. It is Uzbekistan versus India, Javokhir Sindarov versus Nihal Sarin, and this is one of the games that you guys requested me to show. It's quite a nice one and it features a very interesting finish to the game, which will also be used as a pause the video moment. So without further ado, let's check it out. Javokhir with the white pieces opens with e4. And interestingly, of course, you guys know that Uzbekistan won first place in the FIDE Olympiad that was played a few months ago, but here they are playing without their first board, without their star player Nodirbek Abdusatorov, but still doing incredible work. So Sindarov opens with e4, Nihal Sarin replies with pawn to e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and now bishop to c4. We have bishop to c5, and interestingly, these are rapid games. In the previous video, I said that it was a classical event, because I thought, okay, FIDE World Team Championship, that of course will be a classical event, but it's actually a rapid event, but still it's 45 minutes per player, so it kind of is a lot of time. Okay, it's not classical, but it's not like a 15-minute rapid, if that's what you were thinking. And players from Uzbekistan do tend to play the Evans Gambit from time to time, so when I saw this, I thought, okay, this could be it, but nope. However, we don't get the Evans Gambit here. We don't get the Giuoco Piano, which is the absolute top move played in the position, but we get knight to c3, which is even weirder because this is the 5th most popular move, even after the Evans Gambit. The Evans Gambit is the 4th most popular move in the position, which is interesting. Before I started my channel, it was like the 15th most popular move, in that position. True story. So here, knight to f6, we have d3, d6, and now you could continue developing with bishop to g5, and this is considered best, but here, knight to a4, attacking the bishop, bishop to b6, and now pawn to a3, with h6 and h3. So these are moves you will most likely often see in every line of the Giuoco Piano, except the Evans Gambit. We have castles, and now bishop to e6. And here, there are a few games that reach this position. There's even a game where Vladislav Artemiev defeated Shahriar Mamedyarov with rook to e1. But here we have bishop captures on e6, and it is now as of move 10 that we have a completely new game. F captures on e6, and now pawn to b4. A few moves a bit late, but better late than never. We have queen to e8. Now the queen can access the king side, and pawn to c3. And you have a structure that you might see in an Evans Gambit decline. For example, if white plays b4, attacks the bishop on c5, and black goes bishop back to b6, then you might get some sort of a pawn setup like this. Although, okay, the pawn will probably be on a4. Knight to e7, we have rook to e1, and now knight to g6. The pieces piling up nicely in front of the white king. Rook to a2, as you do want your second rank nicely defended, and rook to d8. We have knight captures on b6. That bishop is a monster, so of course Javokhir will eliminate it. A captures on b6, and now pawn to a4. That pawn on a3 was looking very weird. Queen to f7, putting pressure on f2, but okay, it's already defended. We have knight to h2, now bringing the knight to g4, and king to h7. We have g3, queen to d7, and now pawn to c4, with full control over the d5 square, but still d5. And okay, rook to d2. Now if captures, you can capture, and you will have a nice attack on the black queen. Rook to f7, and now queen to c2. We have pawn to c5 and pawn to b5, closing off the queen side. And now okay, the center is not closed. The center can still be opened, but basically the breakthroughs in the position are C captures on d5, E captures on d5. Black can also play captures, although very unlikely, as the rook will be attacking the queen. You can play a5 for some sort of a future breakthrough in the position, and pawn to f4. And okay, maybe even d4. Very unlikely it would take like a Mikhail Tal. He could make a d4 work maybe, but very unlikely. But okay, queen to d6, we have king to g2, rook d to f8, doubling up on the f-file, and queen to d1. So players just testing each other. No one wants to make that, to go to the point of no return. Queen to d7, we have rook to f1, and now rook to d8. We have queen to e2, and now rook to a8. You could also just shuffle it back, rook to e8, rook to f8, queen to d6, but rook to a8 goes after the a4 pawn, and queen back to d1. We have rook back to d8, and now queen to c2. Queen to e8, and now rook to e2. And here, I guess Nihal was already fed up with repeating the position, and Uzbekistan won on board 1, Vidit lost on board 1, so maybe that even happened before this game, so maybe he was forced to play for the win, I have no idea. D captures on e4. He opens up the position, even though, okay, you could still repeat with queen to d7. We have D captures on e4, and now rook f to d7. He claims the open d file for his rooks. We have rook to e3. For the moment, you can't really use the d file. Okay, you can use the d4 square, not much to do there, but all of the other squares are taken by white's pieces. So here, knight to h5 and king to g1. You don't want knight to f4 check to come, knight to f4 to come with check at any point in the future. Queen to f7, we have knight to f3, and now king to g8. We have king to h2, knight to f6, and now bishop to b2, controlling this diagonal, putting pressure on the e5 pawn. So here, queen to f8, offering the e5 pawn, but first bishop to c3, not rushing with the capture. If you capture right away with knight captures on e5, then captures, and you lose control over the d2 square. That's kind of an important square. Now rook to d2 attacks the queen, will put pressure on f2, and you are not very happy here. So instead, after bishop to f8, queen to f8, bishop to c3, now keeping an eye on that d2 square, and now knight to h7. We have queen to e2, and now queen to f6. We have king to g2, and now knight to g5, putting pressure on the knight here, but just knight back to h2. Now you can play knight to g4, put pressure on the queen, and you will still be attacking the e5 pawn from the g4 square. So knight to f7, and now pawn to h4. Knight to f8, we have knight to g4, attacking black queen, queen to g6, and now you could play knight captures on e5 here, but white goes for a very tricky idea, and that is pawn to h5. Now, of course, if the queen is captured, then knight to f6 check picks up the black queen. So after h5, we have queen to g5, and now pawn to f4. Now you can play pawn to f4 with tempo, and if you capture, then you can pretty much resign. If captures, you've allowed white to open up this diagonal, and okay, the queen can move, but rook to g3, and well, you will not be able to survive this. So instead, after f4, we have queen to e7 right away, pawn to f5, going all the way, knight to h7, and now even pawn to f6. Black thought, okay, I'm defending this square 3 times, so f6 will not be an option, but that is exactly what Javokhir plays, and knight captures on f6 was played in the game. In order to survive this, you have to play g captures on f6, because the knight here is a crucial defender of the f6 square, as you'll see. Because now, after rook to f3, putting more pressure on the f6 pawn, you can play king g7. And everything is fine. If knight captures, rook captures is no longer an option. For example, rook captures on f6. Okay, black gives up the queen, but after king captures and queen g4, you are very happy here with black. Just knight g5, and you can hold this. Even queen to f4 check, king g7, queen captures on e5 check, king to h7, and you still have 2 rooks for a queen. You are perfectly fine here. So that's the way to do it. However, in the game, Nihal played knight captures on f6, and now it's pretty straightforward. Knight captures on f6, g captures, and rook e to f3. There is no knight on h7 to support the pawn on f6, and king g7 would simply be met with queen to f2, and now you can't really defend this. There's nothing you can do here. If you try something like rook d1, it's a very sneaky idea. Rook captures on f6, now rook captures on f1, hoping for queen captures and queen captures on f6. There's the in-between, a nice Zwischenzug, rook to g6 check, king f8, and now queen captures on f1, and now white is just completely winning. You can capture here, you can capture here, the knight can't move. It's a terrible position for black. So after rook e to f3, knight to g5 was played, but now we have rook captures on f6, rook to d3, putting pressure on the bishop. Also, the g3 pawn might be attacked at some point. Queen to e1, defending the bishop, and now king to h7, not allowing the capture of the h6 pawn. Bishop captures on e5, and here, okay, if you play rook to d2 check, you can just block rook 1 to f2, and if captures, just queen captures. Black doesn't really achieve anything here. So after bishop captures on e5, rook to g8 was played, and now comes queen to e2, attacking the rook, and it seems like it's not really the greatest of moves, because queen to d7 defends the rook and now threatens rook to d2 to win the white queen, but this is where it all completely collapses for Nihal. Feel free to pause the video and win the game for Javokhir while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting this absolute brilliancy. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is queen captures on d3. I would do it in slow motion, but I don't like to do it in slow motion when it's only one square. So queen captures on d3. And it was in this position on move 52 that Nihal Sarin resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Really brutal stuff. You're down a full rook, and if you capture the queen on d3, look at this. Queen captures on d3. Now rook to f7 check. You even give up the rook. Knight and the king can't really go anywhere, as the bishop covers these two squares. So knight captures on f7. Rook captures on f7 with another check. Now you have to play rook to g7. Now rook captures on g7 with check. Only square is king to h8, and now you would play rook to d7, open up a discovery, and win back the black queen. That was the point of rook to d3, try and force the black queen to capture it. And now, of course, after a forced king to g8, rook captures on g3, that's it. And, well, once the rook comes into the game, black will get checkmated very quickly. There's even a nice idea here. You can just play if king to f7, rook to d6 or anything, or rook to d7 check, and it will be a quick checkmate. But yeah, no point in going all the way to there, as after queen captures on d3, Nihal resigned, and a spectacular victory for Javokhir Sindarov, and with board 1 and board 2 winning. Let me just quickly check how they did on other boards. I don't want to trick you guys. Yeah, Yakuboev defeated Vidit, Sindarov defeated Nihal Sarin, Narayanan defeated Vokidov on board 3, but board 4 ended in a draw between Vakidov and Sasikiran, and with 2.5 to 1.5, Uzbekistan has defeated India in the semifinals, and now we have the finals, and we are also going to show a few games from the finals where China will face Uzbekistan, and India will face Spain for third place. And now I can see that the game's already finished, but I don't want to spoil anything, as I do plan to cover the finals. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Austin Wheeler, Ahmed Youssef, Anu Pakihal, Closebox, and Buntiak Pang for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the FIDE World Team Championship Finals until it finishes. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day. And did you ever think that we would see a continuation even rarer than the Evans Gambit in that position? So yeah, see you soon.